much. Thank you for having me here. I am Dr. Nusrat Sanghamitra, founder and CEO of CyGenica. It's a biotech startup. We are in our preclinical stage at this moment. And I was born in a very tiny village called Soro in Odisha. Um, and I was mostly educated till I did my master's in chemistry in Utkal University. It's called Bani Bihar in Bhubaneswar. After that, I went for my PhD to Indian Institute of Science. And after I finished my PhD, I went for a few postdocs. But why I went for those postdocs, there is another story in the whole thing. And then after my postdocs, I came back and got a biotechnology ignition grant from BIRAC and started my startup, CyGenica, in 2017. Why my early influences, if you say, that's my parents, because we are a big family. We have 5 sisters and 1 brother, and my parents were my biggest influences, because my parents were, like, as you know, our society where a lot like five daughters, they are always kind of to it is people like look at you in a different way, or they feel panch beti, 5 daughters. But my parents were like very inclined, or they respected education. They wanted all their daughters to be highly educated, because my mom, when she wanted to go for college, she was not allowed to go to college. So she had decided, if she gets daughters, she would let them study whatever they want, and she will never stop them from achieving their dreams. And my father was a teacher to start with. Then he joined Food Corporation of India, so he had a education mindset right from the beginning. So he wanted his children to be highly educated, and especially daughters. That they never stopped me from achieving anything. Whatever I wanted to do, I did. So they were my biggest influences, and the way the values that they have inculcated in us right from the beginning. Like, I still remember when I think I was really small, maybe class 3, 4, somewhere. And it was not even to me, but my mom was, I don't know whom she was telling, or she was telling me. I'm like very vague, but what she had told remained with me, that never run after money. You be yourself, or build yourself in a way that money will run after you. So that is a very naive child, I don't know, it remained in my ingrained in my mind. And my dad, at the same time, he was a very giving person. He would like he was teaching us Basudhaiva Kutumbakam, that you should be always of service to people. So those were our dinner time conversations, how we can make impact in the world. So that's what that was the mindset that was built from family. And so I wanted to be a physician, I wanted to be a doctor, because that was the way, as all Indian children think, that I was thinking I'll do of service for people, service to humanity. But when I didn't become a doctor, I decided I was very greedy in that way. I thought, if I be a doctor, then I can only serve people in a limited number of people. But if I choose chemistry and discover a drug, then that will impact like many people worldwide, and it will transcend beyond time and geography. So that was my reason to choose chemistry, and I studied my BSc in chemistry and then MSc, and went for PhD. But another destiny played another role, that when I just joined for my PhD, my dad got cancer. So I thought, since I'm a chemist, as a naive and foolish, maybe you can say, PhD student, I thought I'm going to change the world by making drugs which will be having less side effects, because chemotherapy drugs are extremely toxic, and the way I saw dad going through it, and how it impacted as a family, how like the whole painful process. So I stick to that all my life from then onwards. So my journey of today is a or the startup is just 5 years old, but the journey is 23 years old, because from that day onwards I have been chasing this question: how to make cancer drugs safer and better. I don't know. I told a long story. Yeah. So the way we looked at is, in my PhD, I synthesized a lot of different molecules. I was working on copper phosphine complexes, and we thought we will make these copper phosphines will be better drug than cisplatin, which is a very well-known drug, metallo drug. And because I was an organometallic chemist, or I had joined that lab in Professor Samuelson's lab, was expert in organometallics. So I synthesized a lot of copper phosphine molecules. They were a few of them showed very nice activity in the lab, but in animal stage those were all toxic. So that demotivated me. When I finished my PhD, I thought, what is the fun in just synthesizing new and new toxic molecules? I wanted to understand how drugs work, what is their mechanism of action, and how we can make existing drugs better. Because like if you go to patients, or if you ask all the scientists, all the physicians, even with all the developments that has happened over the period of many last many years and decades, actually, the antibody based therapies, the immunotherapies, they're all very targeted therapies and very interesting and very next generation therapy, gene therapy, etc. But y- you still will find that chemotherapy is still the mainstay treatment. Doctors first prescribe chemotherapy, and then these are the first line therapy. Then they go for all those advanced therapies as a second line therapy or in combination. So chemotherapy is not has not gone anywhere in last many years. So my thought was maybe naive, or I don't know, whatever you call it, but I thought in my mind, see, when we are getting cardiac diseases, say diabetes, these are the diseases we are taking drugs all our life till the end, but we are not traumatized by these diseases. But cancer traumatizes because the drugs are toxic. The therapy itself is painful. So, can we make cancer a manageable chronic disease? And that we can do only when we make the first line therapy drugs as harmless as an aspirin or a paracetamol. So that was the naive idea with which I started this whole journey. And so I thought I want to understand some biology, and I had never studied biology before. So I went to Professor Majumdar's lab in TIFR. He agreed to teach me some biology. In the sense, I did 2 years of postdoc with him and just understood protein structure, function. Those are the areas. It was not directly related to what I wanted, but I was trying to understand the space, the protein space, etc. I spent a few years as a Marie Curie postdoc fellow in Leiden. And there also I worked on similar protein biophysics, etc. But then I went to Japan. It was a serendipitous joining, because I was in a conference and professor from Kyoto University somehow liked my poster in a way that he was looking for someone who is brave enough to do biology being a chemist. He didn't want a biologist to do biology, rather he wanted a chemist to do biology. And when he asked me, I thought that is what was fitting to my puzzle, because I knew somehow how to synthesize molecules. I understood what is protein, how the structure behaves and other things, but I didn't know what happens inside the cell. So I took that offer, went to Kyoto University, spent 4 years there. During that time, I discovered a molecule or a protein which Professor Bueno had given me in his lab. What I did was, I thought, I will label it, because I am chemist. I'm always fascinated by colors. So I fluorescently labeled it and then added to ips cells straight away. That was my first experiment, because ips cells were fancy that year in Kyoto, because Professor got Nobel Prize went to Kyoto University that year. because of iPS cells. So I labeled that protein and put it into iPS cells. I thought it will make some scaffold, but instead I saw all the cells were colored. And that got into my head, why all the cells are colored? That means this molecule is in fact getting inside the cells. And then I spent another 3 years to explain why it is going and how it is going. And then we realized that this molecule was negatively charged, but it was still going through the negatively charged cell membrane, and that was defying the existing theory of cell penetration. Because if you look into the published papers, they had defined as if the positive charge increases to certain level, that can go into negative, go through the negatively charged cell membrane and by endocytosis pathways. And as opposed to that, this molecule was negatively charged completely, and it was bypassing endosomes. That means it was going by a non-endocytic pathway. So that was against the conventional wisdom at that time, and that caught my attention. And I always, I think, get excited by something which is unconventional. So after explaining it, and after we published a paper on that, and then based on that work, I developed a hypothesis that not just that protein, but I can design any protein with XYZ criteria, which will be cell penetrating and which will go through the non endocytic pathway. So I came back to India and got BIRAC's BIG grant. And I think they accepted it somehow, believed it. Thanks to them. Dr. Renu Swarup was there at that time. And that changed everything, because that hypothesis indeed worked. In a year, I proved that it was just not that the protein in Japan, but I could get other proteins which has those XYZ criteria. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about those XYZ because it's our IP. And then we filed a new patent, and now that patent is accepted in the US and another patent accepted in the EU. So the whole story started from there. So it's a new way of delivering molecules to the target cell, bypassing endosomes, because that is so key, which is even more pronounced this year. The interest of the world is going towards that. That is because in COVID, we know everybody now knows about RNA, mRNA based vaccines people used. So RNA are the molecules, or RNA based therapeutics, they're negatively charged. So they don't go into the cell on their own. They need a delivery molecule, because they are negative and membrane is negative. And people were using liposomes, which are positively charged molecules. There are cell penetrating peptides, cell penetrating proteins, but they all go by this endocytosis route and then get stuck in endosomes. Only 2 to 3% come out of those endosomes. So that's why we need, the therapeutic efficacy is less. And that this year I have been approached by many companies to use our technology, because this bypasses endosomes, and it will give, imagining that it will improve the therapeutic efficacy. And this year we have also gone into 2 collaborations with 2 top big pharma companies, and the global pharma companies. I will not take their names because of confidentiality reasons, but maybe when it is available, everybody will know. That theory is so important. People are slowly able to understand the importance of non-endocytic cell entry mechanism. When I started talking about it in 2017, nobody was giving it so much importance. But I think after COVID, because of RNA-based molecules, the RNA-based therapeutics have become even more important, that people are slowly realizing that non-endocytic pathway of delivery is key. Yeah. So I was in a journey for in my PhD. I thought I'm going to make new drugs, but then when I saw the drugs are even more toxic, so I decided, can we make existing drugs less toxic? So when I discovered this molecule and proved the hypothesis that this is able to take things by this unique pathway, then we have to use less amount of dose and to see the same effect. So that is what we are achieving by our technology in terms of oncology. I spoke about RNA because of those non-endocytic delivery and other things, but in case of cancer drugs, that is our current focus for us as a company. And there, what we are doing is our delivery molecule. We have achieved the targeting in three different layers. Like first is it is we have made it targeted, so most often all cancer drugs or especially chemotherapy drugs are non-targeted. They're like carpet bombing. You put it kills everything, healthy cells, cancer cells, everything is killed, and that's why our side effects are even pronounced, more pronounced. So in our case, we have made this delivery vehicle, so it is innocent, it has no toxicity on its own, but we have grafted a signaling partner there, which will go and go selectively to the cancer cells. So we are able to make that targeting in engineering it for different targets, and we have done it successfully for three different cases. In one, we have done for kidney. One for we have done for glioblastoma, which is a rare form of brain tumor, and the third one, HER2 positive cancers, HER2 positive gastric cancer, especially, and brain tumor. These two cases we have proven in animals already, and based on that data, we have got US FDA's orphan drug designation approval this year, and that is going to help us to fast track our development process for this drug conjugate for the treatment of glioblastoma. So dad had prostate cancer, so I am still not I have not done anything on prostate cancer per se, but this making it targeted and seeing the same effect with sorry seeing four times effect with less dose, same dose, these are the contributions that this technology is able to do, and we have seen so far in animal model. That gives me hope that this technology can be explored further to make the existing drugs safer, and that in turn will reduce the reduce the pain of cancer patients. So it's a long journey still, but I think we're slowly getting there. So, first of all, I would like to clarify that this is not a new drug. It's a new molecular tool to make existing drugs safer and better. So this molecule, we call it Genie, guided, efficient, and effortless navigation of intracellular entry. So it's a technique or mechanism, intracellular delivery mechanism, which we have discovered. And this molecule can carry the drugs to the target cell. So on its own, it's not a drug. So we attach existing drug onto the surface of our delivery molecule. Then it's like a FedEx. It's like a molecular FedEx. At molecular level, if you want a drug to go to the particular site inside your cell or a cancer cell, then this acts like a molecular FedEx to carry that drug and take right to the precise site. So it's not a new drug on its own. But any existing drug, we can conjugate it, chemically fuse it onto the surface, and then it can just carry it. So we need still another 3 to 4 years to do our first in human trial. I'm actually the eldest, eldest daughter. So I remember one very funny incident with my brother. After me, my brother, and then four sisters. So my brother is a physician with a health management background, and he's now the director operations in my company in CyGenica. So we are working together. And are you saying something? A physician. He's a physician and doctor with health management background. And my four sisters, they're all like my third sister. She's a assistant collector in Odisha. And second sister, she works in hospital again as a project manager for this. I think small kids, they have to direct to the right doctors and that's a mission, Odisha government's mission. So she's in Odisha, and fourth sister, she works here. She's also in Pune. She has done her clinical psychology and social work, and she works for an organization, an NGO here. I forgot the company's name. Sorry. For like those sexually abused children, how to rehabilitate them. So she works there. So all of us are in this similar health sector. My youngest sister is a physiotherapist in district hospital in Odisha. Yeah, so I think the conversation, since I am the eldest, I think I have spent very less time with those small girls and my brother, because I went to hostel after my 10th, went to study Bhubaneswar, because we were staying in Soro, which is a little smaller, much smaller town, and my parents wanted me to study at the best of the places based on their capacity. So I went to a college in Bhubaneswar at that time. So I was always in hostel. So I think they even didn't know me that well. But when we grew up, now I think when I came back from abroad and spent some time with them, we have always spoken about, as I was saying, mostly about how to make an impact in people's life. That has been our goal, all as all siblings. But the funny thing that I remember with my brother is that when we were in school, every year when Nobel Prize will be announced, he will come, take the newspaper, and he'll say, "Oh my God, this fellow discovered this. What should I discover?" Everything is discovered. So he was always making that funny story every year. He would bring do that the same things. So that is the funniest thing that I remember, and I even tease him now. I think there were a lot, but my father was a person, he would never say anything to us, so he generally kept it up to himself. But I remember one case when he sent me to hostel when I went for that very prestigious college in Bhubaneswar. He's our distant relative and neighbor. They said, "Oh, you're sending your daughter to hostels. She will bring bad name to your family." And yeah, that is the one that I clearly remember. And he's a person, he won't say anything. He'll just keep quiet. But he never deterred me from doing anything. And yeah, these kind of statements that why you are giving so much of education to your daughters, they will go astray and they will bring bad name to your family, and these kind of things people were saying. I think maybe people are saying even now, I don't know. Well, not. I think we never had any conversation per se, because I was just already motivated by myself and doing. So I don't think anybody has done in that way. But I have learned a lot just by observing my teachers, and the way they have taught me, the way they have impacted their values, professional values, professional ethics. Those are the very key things to build a person as a professional. As a person, I have been influenced by my parents, but also my professors. Like the earliest that I remember is my one of my our zoology professor in Chaudhry Surjakanta Mishra in Basic Science College in Bhubaneswar. I never had a direct conversation, but he had written a quote to one of my senior, which remained with me all my life, is, "Do your best wherever you are with whatever you have." So that was the like indirect teaching from that day, from the professor in college, that remained with me always. I remember that and mold myself accordingly, that I have to do my best whatever situation am I in. Then my professor in PhD, my PhD supervisor, Professor Samuelson, Asroka Samuelson, he was a brilliant teacher and a very generous person. I learned a lot. I mean, maybe I can't express everything into words. How he influenced me to build myself as a person as well as a professional. I remember he's very ethically so strong. He want everything to be right. He would make me reproduce things so many times that I was even like hating those molecules that he's asking me to repeat so many times. So that shows how ethically correct person he was, strong person he was. He didn't want anything, anything wrong anywhere. And one incident I remember, how he has influenced me, is when my father was just got detected, and I had taken him to Bangalore. And he had a operation due on that day in Manipal hospital. And those days, we didn't have ATM cards, I guess. You have to take out money from the bank. And that particular day I was in the hospital. I had not asked him money, but he himself woke up at 7 o'clock and just went straight to hospital. He took out some 30,000 rupees on his own and took it with him and sat there. He didn't tell me. I came to know this from his wife, Madam Samuelson. But he kept it with him and he sat with us the whole day until dad came out from surgery and got his senses back. So that is so much of generosity. And I think it's a great trait of being a good leader. You don't have to say anything, but people learn by looking at you. So I have learned a lot from Professor Samuelson. And other than all the experiments and everything else, the chemistry that he has taught us. Like that, Professor Majumdar in TIFR, I spent 2 years with him. So I have learned the way that's the time I went through a personal trauma, and my confidence level was below zero. The way he rebuilt my confidence, uh, that was like amazing. I think he was. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do just by myself. Then I met Professor Thais Asthma in Leiden. He was a very generous person as well. He was he taught me how to take care of yourself, not just as a science, but taking care of yourself. And Professor Takafumi Ueno in Kyoto University, even though he didn't agree to my hypothesis, but I have learned how to pursue excellence from his lab. Professor Kitagawa in Kyoto University, they were people who were like aiming always very high in science and excelling. So those are the like all these professors and teachers, they have shaped me as a professional. I don't, I mean, I think it's always there. The gender bias. There are so many biases actually that I have gone through. It is true. Like there has a lot of bias because of my scarf, because of I'm a woman, and when I go abroad, because I'm coming from a third world country. So one of them actually recently told me, "You are a woman. You are with a scarf on your head, and you are from a third world country. So you can't raise funds. You can't do certain things." So this is now at this century, but from childhood itself, like a lot of I think biasness was there. Those are the reasons that I always knew that I have to excel. Otherwise, I always remember Oprah Winfrey's quote, that I have to sorry, I was raised to believe that excellence is the best deterrent to racism or sexism, and that's how I operate my life, and that's how I have operated. And I always knew I have to do that much, that nobody with any lens of sexism or racism, they can cut me from there. So I have to go beyond that, so working extra hard than anybody else, because other than that I have no place. I know just by merit I will not be there, just by doing the minimum I will not be there. I have to work extra hard to go beyond all those biases. So it is always there, but yeah, I don't want to put those things at this moment out. Yeah, I think the for me the biggest challenge has been, I don't know, for some reason I have attracted a lot of naysayers just yesterday I was telling my brother that I am tired of hearing that you can't do. Why people tell that to me all the time? Just because I have never done, that doesn't mean I can't do. You are so and so, you can't do this. If a academician is seeing me, they say, you're in a startup, who does good science in startup? You can't do a good science being in a startup. Only in academic people do good science. Say, oh, you have never worked in a pharma company, you have never raised funds before, you are a first time entrepreneur, you can't raise funds. Like, so all these different ways of naysayers, which hurts me every other day. I think that has been my biggest challenge, how to bring credibility. What should I do to be credible? So I don't know, but everywhere I find it. I don't know how I attract those kind of people, but I find them every now and then. So I think success is, I always defined it in how I am achieving it, not what exactly I have achieved. So if I am content inside and I have done everything by all fair means, and I have done my best, even if it is not the desired result, that is success to me. If I am able to, whatever I aimed for, and I have done, given all my best, and content inside that I have done all the right things, and doing it for the right purpose, like the why is like correct one, or the biggest motivator for me is the why, that I'm doing all these things. So that is success for me. And failure is, I think it doesn't exist. You are never failed until you stop trying. So I think one would fail, maybe you fail yourself when you don't stand by your values, and that is to me, you're not authentic, and you're not standing for the right things, and that is failure to me. Yeah, so because I'm not in academic, we don't have that many students per se, but all the team members that I have, I try inculcating these values in them. So when we designed, or not designed, just wrote all what is the value of this company, what are the culture of this company. I try taking them all in, and building that, because these are all the very early members of the company, and the company's culture and values would be done together. So I try telling them all the time that, see, excellence is something which, that is the one that you have to pursue. And just recently I was telling them, in some occasion, I think something went wrong in the experiment or something, or somebody didn't know a particular aspect. So I was trying to take that opportunity to tell them that, see, asking the right questions and acknowledging that I don't know something, that's not wrong. You are not supposed to know everything, but as long as you drive yourself to refine yourself every day and be a better version of yourself every next day, that is the culture that I want to build in my company, and build in all of you to pursue excellence, standing by your authentic values, and not being afraid of doing the right things. These are the things I try inculcating in my team. So they are my mentees at this moment of time. When interns come, I try, inculcating these values in them. And as you mentioned just before, about being in healthcare, and patients are this is going to like impact somebody's life really directly. So I tell them always, see, my hypothesis can be wrong, so don't just try proving something just because I have told. I'm very fine to accept that I was wrong, but the experiment has to be correct because somebody's life is going to depend on it. This will be injected to a human life, so that life is precious. My hypothesis or my thoughts are not precious. Those are like, that can be wrong, and I'm very happy to admit, if at all it happens, okay, this doesn't work because I was wrong. But for to prove me right, don't come and like you say that these experiments were done just to prove me right. So because it is at the end of the day somebody's life, so you all have to be very careful about that. So that's what I tell them from day one, that yeah. I was just adding that there are some programs that, in terms of like giving back to, like, mentoring the students, even though we don't have direct students, but there is Darshana Joshi. She is also part of 75 Women, I think, in the previous version. She has Vigyan Shala, so she invites me sometimes to speak to their young girl students. So on 17th, she is doing a program in Ferguson College here, and she has asked me, invited me kindly to go there. So I think in these kind of ways, whenever it is possible for me, I tried imparting whatever I have learned in my life. Yeah. Yeah, so I think for me sustainability has that aspect as well, and I try in my daily life, like I'm very particular about switching off the light, like not wasting any drop of water, and I'm very I'm paranoid about those things, get annoyed if people don't do that. And But at the same time, like living a minimalist life, not too much gathering too much material possession, is my way to live life, a sustainable life. But other than that, I feel there is an emotional component to sustainability. What I feel is like doing as I mentioned before, doing the right things, keeping your conscience straight, and practicing forgiveness, practicing gratitude. These are the way that builds strength in yourself and makes you fearless, and then that is impacting to your emotional sustainability, and that in turn connects to your physical sustainability. So in addition to all those small practices that we do, I feel emotional sustainability is very important by practicing forgiveness and gratitude, and is doing right thing as much as you can. I think for me, the biggest struggle has been I was very submissive as a person. Because I think the way Indian society works, or especially girl childs are brought up, they're not taught to be assertive. They have somehow blurred the difference between being assertive and being arrogant. If you are assertive, you are perceived as an arrogant person. So that's why they have somehow not taught us that being assertive can be done with lot of humility. And so I think that's what I would ask me, suggest me to be more assertive, because I'm still struggling with that. Because that impacts your confidence level. And yeah, so I think that's the thing that I would like to tell myself. Ah, so I think all the values, I mean, along with all the values that I have already told, doing the right things, pursuing excellence, and being fearless, practicing forgiveness and gratitude. Along with that, I think it's important for girls out there in schools and colleges to dream big. That is very important, because unless you dream it, you can't reach there. So I recently read an acronym called BHAG, like BHAG. So it is like building your hairy, audacious goal. So that audacious goal has to be there. Like children or girls, especially, should be taught to dream big and be fearless. If you're doing everything right and you are brave and you have a big dream, I think it helps you in achieving that. So I think in terms of because I'm a startup founder and my at this moment this is the most toughest in entrepreneurship itself is challenging, and then doing something in biotech and drug discovery, that makes it everything the most difficult part. So that itself is it needs a lion's heart really to do this, because it's a one or zero game, as people say. Either it can be $1 billion company or it may not do anything. So the risk is very, very high. So having that boldness that is required to do this. So that is in terms of the company. So I'm so overwhelmed with that now because it's a long journey. So until I see somebody's life getting better because of this, that's my goal. And like to see it, because this is not a short term goal. It takes long time just to take a drug from lab to bench to bedside. So that itself is long. So but in 20 years, I think I want to have enough money to build a cancer hospital in my place, where I see a lot of difficulty, especially when I lost my dad in 2019. I still remember I was sitting outside, all of us were sitting outside the ICU. We were not even allowed to see him. We were not even given information about him. That was a painful process. And the medical negligence was one of the reason that dad couldn't come back after going to coma second time, because the nurse injected insulin even though his blood sugar was normal. I want to build a cancer hospital where people are dealt with dignity, with lot of empathy. They're not No doctor tells them that, okay, you are a doctor or I am doctor. So they, that kind of attitude that we have, because I don't know, whatever the reason, but I want to build that ideal hospital where patients are treated with dignity, and their family members are treated with more empathy and compassion. So that's my 20 years goal. I hope I have achieved that by that time. Hope so. I think the what I'm doing is like, because when I was a academician, it was to be an entrepreneur was never my, or I didn't even know what is entrepreneurship, to be honest. So I was a pure academic researcher, but when I was a pure academic researcher, I felt, I think in 2012, I heard Steve Jobs lecture about asking yourself every day for 7 days that whatever you are going to do today, is it, if this is the last day of your life, will you do the same thing? So if you are getting the answer no for consecutive 3 days, then it's 3 days or 7 days, I'm forgetting, and then it's time to change. So that I remember I'm asking myself the same question, and I felt no, I just can't, go back, go to be just doing research in the lab. That I will not be that, if that is the last day of my life, I will not be able to do that. I want to really see it getting translated and making an impact in people's life. That gratification I need, and that's why I didn't go to academics because of I wanted to see the translation. And so now every day, because I know that this is what one day it's going to bring smile in a patient's life, uh, and that drives me every day now. I want to do skydiving. I have done scuba diving, but I want to do skydiving. Bungee jumping somehow I'm not very fond of, but I want to do skydiving, and I want to go at climb Kilimanjaro. I think this that was my quote, which I have already told. Um, the Oprah's quote, I was raised to believe that excellence is the best deterrent to racism or sexism. And that's the way I operate my life. And my mom's quote, not to run after money. And there are actually many, but these two that always stays with me. Yeah, I follow.